this outcome is not an acceptable outcome for our public safety system.
First tonight on KGW News, a week before Election Day, the Multnomah County Sheriff sounding the alarm that Portland's jails are nearing their maximum capacity. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Mulco. Right now, jails are more than 90% full, and if that number hits 95%, the sheriff says they will start to release inmates. Alma McCarty's in the newsroom. So, Alma, how did we get to this point?
Well, David, this possible forced release of inmates is in accordance with state law once the jails hit a population emergency. There hasn't been one in years, but the sheriff and her team have seen an increase in inmates, especially over the last 10 months, and told county leaders they don't see it slowing down.
Forced releases, when you look at the system as a whole, that is a reflection of the failure of our systems of accountability and our rehabilitative goals.
Multnomah County Sheriff Nicole Morrissey O'Donnell alerting county higher-ups and stakeholders about what will happen if jail capacity hits 95%.
So I believe we need to do everything that's possible to alleviate any jail population emergencies and advocate for a system that is responsive and meets the public safety concerns of our community.
Forced releases have happened in Multnomah County before. KGW footage from more than 2 decades ago shows several inmates walking free from the Justice Center downtown. Their release directly tied to budget constraints.
And I will continue to advocate for right-sizing the corrections system so we're able to be nimble and address our public safety needs.
The current sheriff now saying more money is needed to hire staff and increase capacity. On Saturday, the sheriff put out a notice to officials like County Commissioner Julia Brim-Edwards.
Potentially they were moving to yellow alert status and might have to start releasing people from jail because of the low levels of staffing.
This alert, about a week before Election Day, highlights a need she believes for increased funding, money she's advocated for in the past.
There's been a lot of retirements and turnover, and she asked this last budget cycle for additional budget. I offered an amendment to try and get her that budget. The chair didn't put it in her budget, and unfortunately we weren't able to get the adequate amount of resources.
Currently there are 1,130 jail beds budgeted for. Staff explained that on Sunday they hit 92% capacity.
Now, as for who gets released, there are certain criteria that someone has to meet. The sheriff said if there aren't enough people who meet that criteria for forced release, then law enforcement has to limit booking criteria. David?
Thanks, Alma. I know you'll keep an eye on it over the coming days and weeks. Thanks so much. Well, the search continues tonight. The search continues tonight for the arsonist accused of setting ballot boxes on fire in Portland and Vancouver, with the New York Times reporting investigators found both devices that started those fires were marked with the words "Free Gaza." It is worth noting the Times cited anonymous officials who do not know if the suspect is pro-Palestinian or is perhaps just using that language as a red herring. Evan Watson has the latest on the response to help protect your ballots.
At a ballot box site in East Vancouver, the vigilant eyes of Jennifer Whitaker are ready for anything.
I really cared about what happened yesterday and wanted to help protect democracy.
Investigators are looking for whoever set fire to hundreds of ballots at this East Vancouver drop box location early Monday morning. The smoking and rained-on ballots were collected and brought back to the elections office.
We are still drying those out, and we're not yet ready to really begin processing those damaged ballots.
County Auditor Greg Kimsey says many people are reaching out for replacement ballots and checking to see if theirs was affected by the fire. The county replaced the burnt ballot box, and Whitaker is now one of the contracted workers that Clark County has hired to watch all 22 of its ballot box locations through Election Day.
It made me think that they take this very seriously, that it wasn't just like, oh, well, that happens. They literally immediately decided to protect the ballots.
She says election officials told her what to look out for and who to call. The Department of Homeland Security has issued warnings about people online talking about ways to target ballot boxes, according to a brief obtained by watchdog group Property of the People. In one memo, DHS said election infrastructure remains an attractive target for some domestic violent extremists, and states with more ballot drop boxes may be more at risk. For her part, Whitaker says she commends Clark County for adding ballot box watchers around the clock for the next week, just to make sure people feel their votes are secure.
It puts value. It puts value to absolutely every single voice. And that to me says that people care.
Evan Watson, KGW News.
Meanwhile, 1 week out from Election Day, Oregon's top elected officials are calling for peace ahead of the vote count. In an open letter put out by the Portland Metro Chamber, leaders are asking in part for, quote, peaceful and constructive forms of civic participation and to continue to build a place that works for everyone. Some 100 elected officials have signed on to this letter, including Governor Kotek, both of Oregon's senators and Portland's mayor. This comes weeks after Portland police said it is ready to handle any possible protests or riots. Chief Bade saying he has mandated every sworn officer in the Bureau be on duty, saying staff will be on mandatory 12-hour shifts. By the way, if you have not sent in your ballot yet or aren't sure who to vote for, check out our voter guide on the big races and statewide measures. Just text the word vote to 503-226-5088 and we will text you back with a link to what you need to know. Tonight, a candidate for Portland City Council is recovering after he was hit by a drunk driver. Noah Ernst, who's running for City Council District 1, was near Southwest 16th and Burnside Sunday evening when the car he was driving was hit by another vehicle. Ernst was taken to the hospital with minor injuries. He says the crash highlights the need for increased traffic safety and a greater law enforcement presence.
I don't know if it's ironic. It's certainly apropos. I mean, it's incredibly frustrating but at the same time, at least I can use myself as an example to say, look how badly things are going. Look how we need to make changes. We need to make the city of Portland a better place.
Portland Police says it's working to keep roads safe by conducting routine missions. Their most recent was this past weekend, resulting in hundreds of traffic stops and citations. Ernst is one of 15 candidates running in District 1 and nearly 100 citywide. Well, Tigard police have released dash and body cam video of a driver who rammed multiple police cars, nearly hitting several officers. It turns out a Portland man had reported the vehicle stolen last Thursday morning and then tracked it to a Walmart parking lot. Here is what happened next.
The squeal of rubber and the crunch of metal.
Get out of the car! Show me your hands!
Though the person behind the wheel of this stolen Mercedes Thursday, Tigard police say, doesn't want to listen. Boxed in by cops in the front, here's how it plays out in the back, with officers, weapons drawn, just steps away.
Look out, look out! Jesus!
I'm trying to pull this thing out. Hey, they're coming up to you right now.
The driver speeds out of the Walmart parking lot, straight through a stop sign. Headed right for I-5, authorities say, at speeds too dangerous to follow. 4 days later, police with a canine track down the suspect, who runs through the woods, they say, then hides behind this trailer in a backyard on Southwest Cherry for over an hour, until crisis negotiators convince him to come out. The suspect, 47-year-old Richard Wilson of Portland, authorities say, now facing 20 charges. No one was injured.
Police say they were able to recover the stolen Mercedes on Friday, a day after the chase. In all, they add the suspect hit 4 police vehicles plus 2 others. To get you caught up on tonight's other headlines now, teachers in the Greater Albany School District have voted to authorize a strike, saying pickets will start November 12th if they can't reach a deal in contract negotiations. The union includes 500 educators who say their priority is getting more support to address disruptive student behavior. District administrators say they have made progress in mediation sessions and are disappointed teachers voted to strike. This would be the first strike for teachers in Albany since 1987. In Beaverton, police say there may be more victims of a man they say claimed to be a construction contractor. David Russell Reinhardt was indicted for theft in June. He's suspected of taking money for labor and materials from customers and failing to complete the work as promised. Reinhardt is not licensed by the Oregon Construction Contractors Board. If you believe you were a victim, contact Beaverton Police. And Peabot is ramping up its efforts to get illegal and abandoned cars off the streets. Beginning November 12th, any cars not displaying a VIN number and at least one license plate will be towed immediately and without warning. Peabot says it's authorized to do so after changes to city code. You can report abandoned vehicles in your neighborhood to Peabot 7 days a week.